Gear Tasting Radio is brought to you by Imminent Threat Solutions. ITS provides knowledge that empowers individuals with indispensable skill sets to explore the world and prevail against all threats. Right now, as a special thank you for all podcast listeners, we're offering 10% off in the ITS store. Simply use the code GTR to save 10% at store.itstactical.com. Welcome to Gear Tasting Radio, where we offer an in-depth look into the usage and philosophy behind the equipment in our lives. I am Brian Black, joined today, as always, by Rob Henderson.
Hello.
Today we are going to tackle questions on Gear Tasting Radio.
We promised it.
Yes. This is
Like
a question episode, and I have them ready. I have not previewed said questions other than very, very quickly, real quick. Anyway, here we go. Marco from Twitter asks, long-time listener, first-time question asker. Recently, my wife's car was stolen out of our driveway. According to the responding officer, that morning, someone had jacked a tow truck and stolen at least 3 other local cars. I've been looking into GPS trackers to put in mine and my wife's car, if when it's found. Have you done any research into these items and their associated security concerns, or have any recommendations on how to deter future carjackers? So, I do have a lot of pointers on that. I am full of opinions today.
Needless to say, I've got opinions.
So here's the deal. I feel horrible your car is in that situation, your wife's car. I hate hearing about cars that just completely get stolen. That's never a good situation to be in. And there are some things that you can do to try to mitigate that. I think number one, and obviously your car can always disappear in a parking lot or out in public and things like that. But in your driveway, I'm guessing this happened overnight, which is typically when thieves strike for those kind of things. If they're breaking into your home, it's usually in daylight hours, whereas stealing a car and car theft or breaking into a car is usually very early in the morning, or sometimes very early in the evening. We actually had somebody in our neighborhood that was finally caught because of all the Ring doorbells and security cameras in our neighborhood, who was just a door puller. So he was going around, and it was a kid. He was like 18 years old, just going around to cars and pulling the doors. Yeah, it's a target opportunity. He was looking for cars with doors unlocked. He wasn't breaking into them, like busting out a window or anything like that. He was just seeing what he could find. So that's a huge deal too. So, number one would be lock your doors. But I think even like pre that, like number 0.5 would be clean out your garage and keep your car in the garage. And I know that's a lot for some people. But granted, not everybody has a garage. But if you have one, if you have covered parking and you're not parking there, anything that can keep your vehicle more safe and secure in the evenings is better. Lighting is also a huge thing too. So even if you don't have the ability to put something in a enclosed garage, and stop making excuses if you just need to clean it out. Like if that's your reason for not using your garage, find another reason, because that's really not legit. I mean, you're talking about putting junk. You're picking junk that's probably worth way less than your car over your car. Right. Yeah. I mean, your car's value is probably way more than the value of that stuff in your garage. So, I'm not going to tell people to get a storage facility. I would suggest throwing it away.
Throw it out. Purge.
But, anyway, so that's a big thing. And if you do have to park outside, a deterrent can be as simple as a light coming on. So if you want to get some motion lights, that's a huge thing. Ring makes a product that's not only we call it floodlights.
Just motion activated floodlight and a camera.
Yeah, so it'll give you a notification too if it picks up anything, and it'll actually allow two-way communication too, so you can actually yell at them.
Stop
hey.
That. Well, so that's something I was going to suggest too. Is like, and everybody, the favorite joke for car thieves is like nobody listens to car alarms.
Yeah,
but they do make car alarms with tilt sensors, which in his instance, if they're putting it up on a tow truck and that tilts, you're going to hear it go off. And, you would at least know it's going off. I mean, he mentions GPS, and I think that's okay, but I think it's more positive to try to prevent it from getting stolen than trying to track it down later, because, I wouldn't want to just wander into a den of car thieves.
So the other thing you can do is, so there's a couple of things that might help in that situation. If they're using like a Slim Jim or something to open the door, because here's the deal. They need to open the door to take the car to park if they're going to tow it. Like it just has to be done. So all places that repo cars have to do that too. So they'll actually open the car door and make sure it's not in park before they'll tow it, because your axle isn't going to move anywhere if it's in park. That's just the way it is. They could still do it and just screw up the axle and
they can drag them,
drag it if they wanted to.
And that's one of those home security tips that we talked about. Is you're never going to stop somebody that's intent on taking it, because you could literally just drag a chain and yank it up onto a flatbed.
Right. So I mean, if they're trying to preserve the car, they would probably try to break into it first. The other thing too is the tow truck is actually a smart idea from a criminal's perspective, because if somebody looked outside and saw that, they would think the car was getting repoed.
Yep.
And probably not even think anything about it. Just go, ooh, they didn't pay their bill.
Yep.
That kind of thing. So
yeah, people won't interfere with a tow truck.
Yeah, I mean, I would still do that. I mean, if I saw that happening, I would still probably call the police just to let them know. But yeah, but that's kind of the thing too. It's the whole hard target thing. Making your home a better deterrent against thieves and people coming onto your property. There's lighting, there's cameras, there's locking your doors. You could put a whatchamacallit, what's the steering wheel lock?
Oh man, yeah. Why can't I think of that?
Because it's old.
It's from the 90s. The wheel lock. We'll put it in the description. I'm sure.
Hold on, it's gonna come to me.
I want to call it a Slim Jim, but it's not. It's yeah. We used to see them all over the place.
Someone's yelling at us right now.
I know.
Yeah. Anyway, they're red. They have those bars. But the thing about it is it's still a keyway, and it still can be, unlocked. And I think there's even bypass exploits for those as well. But, some cars actually come with a lockout too. So like an ignition lockout. So if they're going to steal the car, it may not do them any good if they can't ever get it started. Because, I guess you could always bypass that. But there's just so many variables, like you said, that you're never going to stop a determined criminal. So whatever their motive is for taking your car, whether that's parts or whatever, that's just kind of the gist of it.
Yeah, and as far as the GPS tracker goes, that's one of those things that if these guys are using a tow truck and they're already experienced enough of that, the first thing they're doing is trying to fleece it for a tracker. And it's not, if you're going to mount something on the battery, that's the ones I've seen, is you can mount them to the battery, and some of them have a battery backup, but you can also just disconnect the battery leads to kill devices that you have hooked up, things like that. So I don't know. It's some devices are on the cars now. If you have like OnStar and stuff like that, it kind of has a built-in GPS. So, maybe not suggesting that you should get a different car, but if you shop for cars in the future, maybe look at that as a built-in feature.
Yeah, a GPS is a good thing to have, because you really can get a vehicle tracked down with that, whether that's low jack or something else like that. I'm honestly not 100% up to date on how those are connected, whether they do have their own internal battery backup so that if someone does disconnect leads off a battery, it's not going to make the device turn off. However, obviously there's a security concern about being able to get data on where your vehicle's been at all times. But, I don't know. I go back to the whole, honestly, for me, I would rather be able to prove that I was somewhere in the event that something happened than I would worrying about someone getting that data and using it against me. However, there's, obviously two sides of that coin, and some people may feel the opposite way and feel that, the government could use that and know where I am. I'm like, well, the government already knows where you are because of cell towers. Because when your cell phone's on, it's pinging towers.
Turns out they've solved that problem.
Yeah. So anyhow, that's kind of the security aspect of it too. I think a GPS tracker is a good idea. I think any security measure you add is just like home security, it's buying time. So anything you can do to stop a criminal is a good thing.
Hope they recover the car.
Yeah, hope so too. Thanks, Marco. All right, so next question is from Daniel M. Any recommendations on a calorie-dense bar, a.k.a. can eat on the move, for a bug-out bag that ideally won't melt? So I have experimented myself with a couple of different versions, keeping them in the car. However, I will say that in heat, like severe heat, like Texas summers, you should replace those things every couple of weeks, if not once a month. During colder weather, it's really not that big of a deal, but those expiration dates really don't mean a thing if you're going to keep it in a super hot car. Same with like MREs and stuff like that too. So I started out using power bars, and those they didn't really melt, but they just kind of get this weird consistency to them, and you almost don't want to.
Gross and oily.
Yeah. And then I started putting Lara bars in there, which are decent. Now I don't really eat bars like that, so I don't usually keep them. You have one that you can recommend, right?
Yeah, so I have Lifeboat Rations, which are basically just oil-soaked cookies.
In case your car gets submerged.
Yeah, but they come in a foil-wrapped pack, which helps mitigate some of the heat. There's not as much oxygen that's getting to it, and they are rated for over 100-degree temperatures for, I forget, it's like a month or two or something like that. But I bought them for the bug-out bags because I was tired of swapping out MREs and stuff, and it was for like a get-home bag in a car. But I think it packs like 3,600 calories into a brick, and I mean, you could stretch that for a long time. I mean, on the go, like you were saying. They've also made, it's disgusting, but it's like survival rations that are basically just like lemon-flavored fat cubes, which you could get. I mean, I guess you could eat that. I think it's a trade-off between like, do you want to be comfortable or do you want to have the most bang for your buck? In which case, it's like put a bunch of peanuts in your car.
Yeah,
just a huge bag of peanuts. Like,
well, I'm a big fan of dehydrated meals because they can keep for a long time even in the heat. Great point. Whereas an MRE it's not dehydrated. If you guys know what MRE is out there, I'm sure you guys do. But that's a liquid type of food. It's not. You know what I mean? It's not a solid, but it's not freeze dried.
You can eat them right out of the package without doing anything to it.
Without cooking. There you go.
Yeah.
With a freeze dried meal or something like that, like I prefer
Paleo Meals to Go.
Yeah, Paleo Meals to Go is good. Good to Go it has great meals too. I even like the chicken the pad thai from, it's not Mountain House, it's the other one, Backpackers Pantry.
I was gonna say no love for Mountain House.
Yeah, no. Mountain House is honestly my least favorite outdoor meal, but I still eat them. They're good stuff. I like that they've gone to new packaging, so they're now even smaller, which I like. But either way, like I'd prefer to carry a Jetboil, some fuel in one of those for food. However, that's not really an on-the-go kind of thing, and you would have to stop and cook and things like that. But
that's where I start questioning the strategy of why are you needing to walk all the time? Like, just stop and eat. But yeah, I mean, freeze-dried is the way to go because, too, you don't have to heat it if you didn't want to. You could just add water, stir it up, wait a couple minutes, and then eat it if you really had to. Heat's nice.
That's dehydrated. Freeze-dried, I think you have to
Does it have to have heat?
So there's freeze-dried and there's dehydrated. Those are actually two different variables in the outdoor game for food. Huh. Yeah.
I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, so...
All right, well, dehydrated. Just add some water, you're good to go.
I think. I'm pretty sure.
Get a couple tubs
I'd be willing
of
to put money on it, but I'm like 98.9 or something.
I'm not a gambler. I'll go with bring a Jetboil.
All right, so thanks for the tip, Daniel, or the question. Hopefully that helped out a lot, and I would suggest just kind of checking out REI and the options there. Again, I think even REI might have those survival meals in the foil now.
Yeah, I mean, if you really wanted to do Amazon, it, I think just if you eat those things on a regular basis, then you could just cycle them out in whatever bag you keep. That way you're...
I would do that with the freeze-dried stuff or the dehydrated stuff, but not the...
No, I meant like a power bar. Like if he's already eating a power bar every day, you could do that. But
Too much sugar in those. Don't do that. All right. James, this question comes from email. How do you handle a lock that you just can't seem to pick? Do you have any strategies alternating between raking and picking? So you could always ranger the door and just kick it open. I'm kidding.
Throw the lock away.
Yeah. Honestly, I really like the challenge of a lock that I can't open because it makes me really focus on what I'm not doing correctly. So, the locks that I can pick easy, I feel like sometimes I don't learn anything. It's just like, oh yeah, I can do that. It's a confidence booster more than it is working on a skill, if that makes sense. Sometimes I'll do that though, just to get myself in the mindset of my technique is still good. This lock just needs something different. So sometimes I'll go back to like progressive locks that are like a 1 or 2 pin or 3 pin, and I'll pick those easily, and then I'll come back to that just to kind of know, okay, my technique's right. It opened those. What am I doing wrong on this one?
Yeah,
so,
there's definitely something to be said for confidence in picking. But yeah, it's just I have a visible cutaway lock that I raked open the first time I got it, and I have never been able to pick it
Yep.
since. And I try probably once every couple months.
I guarantee you know exactly where that lock is, though.
Oh yeah,
See?
yeah. I mean,
That's what happened at Mustard to me. Remember? I think I told
Yeah.
that story not too long ago. But I hit that first lock, and I just got stuck for like 10 minutes. And then finally, actually, I think I just wound up skipping it, and I told Matt, I'm going to take that with me. I'm going to take that home.
And if it's a practice lock, my biggest thing is try it for like 5 minutes and then put it down and move to something else.
Yeah.
Don't just keep at it because it'll just keep binding up on you. And
Yeah, that's great advice, too. I mean, if you're doing it for a lock sport purpose, which I hope that's what we're talking about, obviously the code of ethics behind lock sport is to not pick any locks that you don't have permission to pick. That's not what this is about.
yeah, no, tell your neighbor Billy to get a different lock.
Yeah. I mean, that's really where I see that being the most helpful, too, in terms of a skill set, is being able to help neighbors and friends and things like that. I mean, I've done that plenty of times when somebody can't get a padlock open or a truck hitch or something like that.
Don't have to hire a locksmith.
That's right. All right. Thanks, James. Next question comes from Lee over email. I'm very interested in learning the lockpicking tradecraft. I already have a pick set, but like to know which practice set would be the most universal.
I promise this is not a plant question.
We happen to have a product called the Universal Lockpick Station.
It is.
Yeah. But it's a great table mount device that basically clamps down to the edge of a table. Then it's got a secondary clamp that holds one of our visible trainer locks in it, so it gives you a nice station to pick with rather than trying to hold it in your hand and still manipulate two picks at the same time, or a torsion tension wrench as well as the pick itself. So
Yeah, and I think it's a bad habit to get into, to pick locks in your hand, because that's not how you experience locks in
I
the
agree
real
with
world.
that too.
Especially like up against door jams and stuff. You get used to having all this room, so take that practice station, maybe scooch it up against the wall.
And typically, that's something that is worth mentioning as long as we're talking about it, is typically locks turn towards the jam. So if you're up against a lock that is on your left side as you're facing the door, or your right side facing the door, it's going to turn, well, I guess that is counterclockwise.
It'll turn away from the, what's that piece called?
Yes, that's a better way of saying it. It turns away from the jam. So
Yeah.
on a left-facing door, away from the jam would be a clockwise rotation.
Yeah.
On a right-facing door or a right-hand side jam, it would be counterclockwise away from the jam. So just something to be aware of. And that's not always that way.
I was going to say, if you want to trip people up, install your locks upside down.
Yeah, and some people do that without even knowing they're doing it. So it's not that they're doing that as a way to throw somebody off. It's just, I kind of chuckle whenever I see upside down locks. I'm just like, oh.
I always wonder if they did it on purpose or if they just happened into it.
Yeah. So that's all the questions we have. There was 4 of them, and those are what we addressed. Since we're talking about locks and stuff, I do want to bring up something that's not lockpicking related, but more security related. And that's, I've been recently messing with different doorbells. So I'm not happy with some Ring stuff that they're doing. I want to really get a better look at the competitors out there too. So I'm looking at the Nest doorbell, and I'm also looking at that technology that they have with the actual door lock between Yale and Nest and things like that too. So there's a lot of interesting smart technology coming out for locks, and I've really been researching that to find out if there's exploits around, and I haven't really seen much that is substantial for those, especially the Yale combo locks that, like, they're partnering with Nest, and they've also got like a home kit one.
Yep.
So it's not just one lock, just FYI, but it's all touch screen. It's a key code. You can unlock them remotely. Give somebody a temporary password or a temporary key code. So there's a lot of interesting stuff coming up.
It's super handy.
Yeah.
As far as the exploits go, that always comes back to someone that's taking that time. We talked about it with the car thieves. If they're that prepared, the lock is the least of the concern.
Yeah.
You're getting in, if you have a good drill and a normal deadbolt cylinder, you can get through that in a couple minutes. It's not going to take that much. So an exploit I always view is like, that's a lot higher level of a thing. That's what security systems are for, and all the different layers of security that we talk about. But having that electronic lock is the most handy thing ever.
Yeah. Well, and that's really what you need to look at too, is the convenience factor worth what you could potentially be giving up? But however, I think a lot of people that focus on the security issue of those locks are probably the people that still don't have something like a a door arm or a door devil installed,
Yeah,
which
exactly.
would prevent a kicking in of a door, or they haven't bought a solid core door yet, or they haven't reinforced the hinges yet. So there's like those little variables that don't get paid attention to when people are talking about, that's internet, you can exploit that. Great. However, it takes 2 seconds to kick in the door.
And also,
2 seconds.
Yale has thought it through, because with HomeKit, anytime that cylinder gets turned, I get a notification to my phone. So not only that, if there was a bypass that somebody instituted and the cylinder got turned, I would get a notification. Yeah. Most of the time when you get your door kicked down, you're not going to get a notification. So,
and then you'll get a second notification from the call from your alarm company. And
exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's very evident that someone is entering. And, I mean, the doorbell camera is also a great thing. I've actually started, I'm gonna work on it this weekend. I'm going to make a little sign that I'm going to put on my wall that says, please place packages here, because it's going to be in view of the camera. So for package thieves, I'm going to have the delivery person put the package in a location, and then you can see it on the camera the whole time, which I think is kind of interesting, because it's something that you can just constantly monitor throughout the day if you couldn't get home to pull the package in, or,
That's actually been a problem for me. I have that Ring right now, and I feel like drivers are doing that on purpose. They're putting it right by the camera, but what it's doing is making it not visible by the camera, and it's right in front of my door. So meaning there's literally an alcove to the left or right of my door.
Just
and it's like, just put
Yeah.
it off. Like,
It doesn't
dude,
take that
you
much.
drop it right in front of the door. Stop. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know if that's laziness or that's policy. I can't figure it out.
maybe a mix of both.
Yeah.
Lazy policy.
Fix that policy. It's lazy.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for listening to Gear Tasting Radio. I am going to try to make up a new outro because I'm tired of saying the same thing all the time. Real quick. Use the pound tag, Gear Tasting Radio. No. Use the pound tag, Gear Tasting. That's kind of the thing we always say, but honestly, if you have questions, just like we read on this episode, that's a great way of making sure that we see them, because we will field them either on here or another episode of like our questions over coffee on YouTube. So
we may just even reply to your email, because if we've already covered it and you send a question in or tweet us or whatever, we may just reply to it too. So just use it so we can find it.
Yeah, we did that the other day. Someone asked for an article, or if we'd written anything
Here
on
you
this.
go.
Like, here's the article. Yeah. So sometimes we actually reply to email. Can you believe that? Yeah. No, we always try to reply to email. So also, I always say subscribe on Apple Podcasts, but, it is a big thing. We've got some great reviews that people have left, and we would very much appreciate your support in that regard. I'm probably never going to stop asking for support, and even if you have left a review, don't feel like I'm trying to pressure you to do something more. Like, we really appreciate it. So if you have left a review, that's awesome. If you've left a 5-star rating for us, that's even more awesome, and you're super cool. And one day we're going to have a party for all the people that have left 5 stars, because we know who you are.
5-star club.
5-star club. Anyway, so we also have our crew leader membership. That's our way of kind of getting support for shows and our video content and things like that. Not only is it's $50 a year, but not only that, it allows us to kind of give you some stuff in return too. We're working on some new ways and new benefits for crew leaders.
Especially coming up soon.
Yes. Yeah. One of the big deals now is the access to new product releases. So when we have a product release, typically we're trying to give all our members at least a 24-hour jump on everybody else, and that actually has been a little bit of a huge benefit lately.
Yeah. Stuff's selling out before the public launch.
I realized I did a little bit of a huge. It's been a huge benefit lately. But yeah, things sold out before the public launch. So, I mean, only members got to buy them. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not cool. I wish we would have had more to offer everybody. But at the same time,
the members saw the benefit. And they took it. The little bit of a huge benefit, and they jumped on it.
You also get 15% off in the store too. So not only do you get an early jump, but you also get a discount on stuff too. So check it out. It'll be in the episode intel along with some other stuff that we talked about, some links and things like that. So thanks for listening.